Dayspace online podcast. Dayspace.
Hi everyone and welcome back to the Dayspace podcast. I'm Lizzie and today I have Joe.
Hello.
And Zelda.
Hi.
And we are going to talk about some of our favourite films. So we're talking about our favourite films, but the first question I'm asking about is, what's your go-to film? So the film you never get tired of watching, the one you've watched a fair few times and know all the words to. So, Zelda, did you want to take us away with your top film?
Well, this is really hard because I have quite a few that I really love, but the one that I can always go to and just, I never really ever get bored of watching it, is probably The Holiday. And I kind of know all the words to it. It's really quite sad, isn't it?
Now, do you watch The Holiday outside of Christmas? Because it is a Christmas film.
Yeah, see, it's one of those ones, like, that's it, my go-to, so any time of year.
I love that.
Cheer me up, that one, I think.
It's a good rom-com, I have to say.
It's a good film.
With a somewhat unlikely cast, with Jack Black being cast in a
I love him,
rom-com film.
Yeah.
So, Joe, what's your go-to film?
Well, it's the same as my favourite film because it's Star Wars. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, because it's just the best thing ever. So I always remember when I was younger, whenever I was ill off school, the first thing I'd do is just put Star Wars on and just sit there, watch it, and I'd immediately feel better. And then I'd have to put the next one on. And then I'd have to put the next one. So I just had a film fest whenever I was ill, and I would often quote along, doing all the silly voices. Yeah, so I can probably quote that entire film from start to end with all the music. So, yeah, if you ever really want to spend...
instruments?
Yeah, if you've got 2 hours that you just want to kill and don't mind listening to me for 2 hours, then invite me around and I'll regale you with Star Wars.
That sounds a very tempting offer, but at the minute we're socially distancing, so...
Okay.
Oh, darn it.
I would say that... So my go-to film, I'd say, is probably different than my favourite film. So I'd say that my go-to film, one that I could just watch forever and ever, is any of the Wallace and Gromits, especially the shorter ones. Don't get me wrong, I love The Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
Yes.
But I love the animation of the original trilogy, and I also do love A Matter of Loaf and Death as well. What I love about the animation style is that it was purposefully done this way, is because it's claymation. You can see like fingerprint indents at certain parts of the film. And I just love the whimsical nature of Wallace and Gromit as well. I just think it's very silly, but it's good fun.
I used to have those on video as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to have a video with all three of those back to back, so I would often put that on as well.
In between the Star Wars, or did it have to be done separately?
No, afterwards. Come on, afterwards.
Sorry.
You can't. Don't break up Star Wars, Lizzie.
I'm so sorry. I could suggest such a thing. So, do any of us have a favourite actress or actor?
I have quite a few. It's really hard, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I do like Gerard Butler, but I don't know if it's just for the acting skills or the way he looks.
Yeah, he's a very nice looking man as well. That can't hurt his acting skills, surely.
That certainly helps it along, doesn't it? I do like Kate Winslet a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know about you guys. What do you think?
Yeah, no, she's a really good actor, as is Leonardo DiCaprio, obviously. The fact that he had the Oscars held away from him for so long until he got it for The Revenant.
Yes.
There's
All he had to do was climb inside a horse, and that was it.
Was it inside a horse? I think it was a bear.
It was a bear. Climb inside a bear. That's it.
Yes. Very strange.
Yeah.
I've got a series of actors that I just really like. I seem to like more British actors than I do American, and I think that's just the way that the cookies crumbled, really.
Yeah.
So with Star Wars, I love John Boyega. I think he's a really great actor, and he's obviously from the newer Star Wars films. Yeah. There's just so many that I especially love comedy kind of actors as well. Jack Black. So don't get me wrong, acting possibly isn't his strongest suit. He's also a musician, but I do love his acting in films, and I think he's typecast for a reason as a comic actor.
Yes.
Because I watched Goosebumps with him in. I think it's him who's in it, and he's in a more serious kind of role. And it just didn't sit right. I don't think it was necessarily the best role for him. But he's in the newer Jumanji films, and he plays very well in that.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I tend to like characters more than I like specific actors or actresses. But if I was trying to rack my brains, and I think if there's one person that I keep on coming back to, it's Jimmy Stewart, who's an actor you might know from It's a Wonderful Life. You know, I'll throw a lasso around the moon for you, that guy. Because he's so easy to imitate as well, because that's so much fun. But he's just got this naturalness to him, this kind of humanness to him, this humorousness that's so that you don't often get with actors. Usually it's all very serious and very but he's just such a fun character. He's like, imagine Tom Hanks back in the 50s and 60s. He's like, Tom Hanks is the modern equivalent of Jimmy Stewart. So
I would say that someone
nice
who's
guy.
Quite similar to that would have been Robin Williams as well.
Oh my God, I love him.
Robin Williams is great as well.
Robin Williams, he was an amazing actor.
And could also do serious as well as comedy as well.
Yeah, completely. And his ability to do impressions was pretty amazing.
Yes. It's either that or I do have one more. I've been rewatching Breaking Bad for the 4th time now.
Okay.
And Bryan Cranston is amazing actor.
Yeah, I still kind of only know him as the dad from Malcolm in the Middle.
That's why it's so good. Because he's so different.
But he also features in The Disaster Artist as Bryan Cranston.
Does he?
Because Tommy Wiseau's mate got given the opportunity to be in Malcolm in the Middle. And it was Bryan Cranston who offered him that role. So Bryan Cranston was in the film. Because why not have him in the film if you're going to have someone play him?
Actresses is because I know I've mentioned actors. Actresses is another matter. Meryl Streep's always great.
Yeah, she's
always great. And I actually recently watched a film with Margot Robbie, I, Tonya, and she was amazing in that. Margot Robbie.
I wanted to watch that. Would you recommend it as a film?
It was a bit weird and a bit crazy, but yeah, it was great. It was an interesting watch for someone who doesn't particularly like sports or sports-related films. Great, it had an interesting backstory, and you know, interesting because I knew nothing about the whole Tonya Harding thing, so it was interesting a little history lesson for me.
There's a spectrum of two very different kinds of actresses, and I love them both for different reasons. And it's Olivia Colman, who she's not a very serious actor. It turns out she doesn't do a lot of prep for her role. She is just very gifted at just becoming this character. And then you have Helena Bonham Carter at the other end of that spectrum, who is like full on into any role she is in and kind of inhabits the person. There was a Graham Norton interview where Helena Bonham Carter talks about, she's in The Crown, the TV series The Crown, as Princess Margaret, I believe. And she went to see a psychic to try and contact Princess Margaret to see if she was doing a good job, and apparently she is. So,
well, it's like Daniel Day-Lewis on the set of Lincoln. He was texting as Abraham Lincoln to his wife and stuff like that. So
excellent. It must be a nightmare to live and love a method actor.
Yeah.
So, can we remember the first film that we saw at the cinema?
Yes.
What was your first film that you saw at the cinema, Zelda?
This is really embarrassing. Do I actually want to tell you? No.
You're the one who wrote the questions.
It's not something dodgy, is it?
Then I thought about it and I was like, why did I ask that? Because I don't want to admit my one. My one was Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Oh, brilliant.
Excellent. Yeah, I know. That was that. Yeah. There's not much to say.
Would you have, looking back on it, chosen that to be your first memory of being in a cinema?
Well, it's actually quite a funny story behind this, because we went with my auntie and she does have a very strong, well, she did have a strong accent back then when we were like 10 or whatever. Anyway, we went to the cinema and she was supposed to ask for Turner and Hooch, because that's what we were going to see, Turner and Hooch. But for some reason, she was completely misunderstood, and we got in there and it was Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. And that is a true story, I'm not joking. And we were sitting there like, this isn't Turner and Hooch. So, yeah.
But did you enjoy it?
No.
No. Oh,
No.
Shame.
No.
Who doesn't like a bit of Keanu Reeves? Come on.
I do. He's another excellent actor.
He is, but not in that. Not mad about that film, definitely. But, you know, it's a memory.
I remember my first film that I saw at the cinema was Hercules. And so I believe it came out in 1997. Are you going to fact check me there, Joe?
It was. I have a photographic memory about this kind of thing. 97.
Thank you very much. Which means that I would have been 4 when I saw it, because I was born in 1993.
Wow.
And yeah, I just remember the bit with the fates. They're called the 3 people who share the one eye of the future. It's a very odd bit.
Yeah.
But I just remember there's this one tiny bit in the scene and it just really freaks me out and I didn't like it. There's this one who's got a really long nose and this little spider comes out of her nose and she just sniffs it back up. That's all I remember from seeing the film the first time. I love it. Wow. It's one of my all-time favourite films. But that one moment, I was just like, oh, that was horrible. So, yeah.
I think my one, or are you going to say something else? No?
Go for it.
So I think my first film, the first film that I saw in the cinema, I think, or the one that I have the clearest memory of seeing at the cinema, was Toy Story, which came out in 95. So I was probably about 4 or 5, I think, probably 5 when it came out. And we went to the big cinema in Sutton. I can't remember what it was called. UCI Cinema, was it, or something like that?
I think it would have been at the time. It's now an Empire.
Yeah, so the massive cinema in Sutton, and with my parents. And for some reason, I remember there was an old MacDonald cartoon before it or something like that. Or maybe I got my facts mixed up. I can't remember.
No, I think you're right.
But I really remember the scary dog chasing the toys. That's one bit. I was like, scary dog chasing toys. Yes. So Toy Story.
I hate Sid. I hate Sid.
It was
He's
Sid's
horrible.
dog. I can't remember the name of the dog.
It's awful.
Yes,
he's a nasty young man, and I wish that his parents had taught him better manners.
Yes.
That's correct. I agree with you.
What are the films that we've chosen to talk about as our favourite films? I'm sure that as with all of these things, you can't really just pick one favourite, apart from possibly Joe. But there's you watch films for different reasons at different times, and so So the one I'm going to talk about is one that I can only watch at a certain time of year, though. I'm not like Zelda, who can watch a Christmas film all year round. So, Zelda, what is your favourite film and why have you chosen it?
Okay. I do actually have two like favourites, but I think this is like my favourite. So my favourite is P.S. I Love You.
Mm-hmm.
It's got Gerard Butler in it, and it was a novel turned into a film. Cecilia Ahern wrote that when she was just 21. So that's really cool fact. That's my favourite. Always just gets me in a good mood. I know it's a sad film, but I like it. I just love it. And my other one is As Good As It Gets. Has anyone seen that?
Jack Nicholson.
Yes.
Yes, that's great.
Such a good film. So I like Helen Hunt as well. She's a wonderful actress. But I think, yeah, P.S. I Love You's got to be my fave. So that's my final answer on that, I think.
I think that's a stellar choice of a favourite film. I've watched P.S. I Love You quite a few times.
Yeah.
Joe.
Never seen it.
No. Romantic films don't really seem to be your thing, unless I'm wrong.
No. You're quite right.
Yeah, I thought I might be. So, Joe, I know you have already spoken somewhat about your favourite film.
Star Wars.
But is there other than the nostalgia feel of you watching it a lot in your childhood? Is there another reason why you've picked it today to be your favourite film?
Because it has the best soundtrack ever. The best musical score for a film ever.
Ever.
Categorically ever.
Okay. Scientifically proven. Ever.
Scientifically proven. It's just great. It's got I love all the characters. It's got so much humour in it as well. And it's one of those films that's just a classic hero's journey. You know, you got the hero goes off on his quest. He's set off with gets his mentor. And he meets all these crazy characters and has a thing he's got to do. It's just wonderful. It's it's very. I found it so inspiring as well. So inspiring, the film, just because I had loads of Lego figures and action figures, and I used to make up all the stories around it. So it inspired my creativity as well. That film, absolutely.
Fabulous. I didn't watch Star Wars until I was an adult. I, in fact, didn't watch any of the Star Wars films until The Force Awakens was about to come out in cinema. And I thought, I should probably know what's going on with it. But obviously, with the birth of the internet, I knew lots of the big events anyway.
And the memes.
And the memes, and all the memes. So, yeah, I watched 4, 5, and 6, and then I watched The Force Awakens, because I thought that's enough of the backstory to be able to know what's going to be happening in The Force Awakens and get an idea of the universe. But I only actually recently finished watching episode 3, and it took me a very long time, because episode 1 and 2, I think they were quite pants. That's just me.
Number 2 especially. I have fond memories of episode 1. I know there's a lot of hate towards it because of Jar Jar Binks and all that, but I was 10 when I saw it. Or was I 9, something like that? 9 or 10, and thought it was amazing when it came out. So
yeah, see, I think I missed out on so a lot of episode like 1 and 2. I really feel are for the wow, look at all these special effects, isn't it really cool? And I'm like,
yeah, 2 especially suffers from that because it's just mostly special effects and bad plot.
You haven't seen any Star Wars film ever, Zelda?
No. Shall I just leave now? Is that?
No, it's okay.
Yeah,
we're an all-inclusive environment here.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, doors
yes,
open.
we are, Joe. We are.
Doors definitely open. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I've not thrown away the key.
Okay.
There are lots of these like classic films that I haven't ever seen. For example, I haven't ever seen a full Indiana Jones film.
That's it. Door, get out the door.
Seen those. I'm just not a massive Star. I have seen one of the Star Wars, maybe. But...
I also haven't seen Jurassic Park.
Oh,
there are so many of these films that it's like on these like top 50 films you have to see before you pop your clogs. I just haven't seen a lot of them, so I look forward to watching them in the future.
But all Disney films you can quote like nobody's
not
business.
all of them, but there are a certain few that yes, I can. And actually, I haven't picked a Disney film as my favourite film that I'm going to talk about today.
What
I
have
have
you
picked Jumanji, and this is the original Jumanji with Robin Williams. And I think that Jumanji is a Christmas film. Let me tell you why I believe this. So there is a scene near the end which is set at a Christmas party, and I think the bit at the very start is set where his dad is leaving to go to the work Christmas party, and I think for that reason it was always shown on the TV around Christmas, and that was the first time I saw it was on the TV, and there were all these like. Well, I remember when I was watching it when I was much younger, it was like all of these special effects were really, really real, and all the scary bits were like super scary. And as I've got older and I've watched it more, there's so many like little bits that completely went over my head when I was a kid, and it's that nostalgia feel of this is something that when I first watched it, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Another film that's a bit like that for me is also The Mummy. I love that film. That was always randomly on at like Easter on the TV. Yes. I can't tell you why it was.
Because Jesus was
but
from
that's
Egypt,
not Jesus.
Wasn't he?
I always find that plays on ITV2 like repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe around Easter time. I don't know why.
Yeah, I watched that film when I was younger than 12.
Yeah.
Shock and horror. It's a 12 and I watched it before I was 12. And it's one of these. There are some scary moments in it, but the rest of the film is just silly adventure nonsense.
I couldn't watch Jumanji.
You couldn't watch Jumanji?
Because there's a massive
tarantula.
Yes,
there is. There's a big spider with big pincers.
So I refuse to
Fair
watch
enough.
it. I've never seen it.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I would recommend it as a film. It being one of my favourite films.
Okay, if you tell me when the spidery bits are.
So once we've watched Star Wars Episode 4, and you've quoted all the way along with it, I will watch Jumanji with you and tell you when to close your eyes.
Or hide behind a pillow.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So does anybody have anything they want to add about their favourite films or any other film that they feel should get a little mention now?
I just had a really quick thought about another film that I love is Jack with Robin Williams. Has anyone seen that?
Yeah, I have. Or I've at least seen some of it.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Yeah, that's another one that's really good. Sorry, I couldn't not put that one in there.
Yeah.
I couldn't not.
Well, I have a full list of my top films. I'll send it to you afterwards.
Yeah, so when we put this podcast out, I'll make sure that I've got a list of everyone's top 10-ish favourite films. I know, but I'm going to limit you to 10, Joe. You can count Star Wars as one if you like.
Okay, that's helpful. That's helpful. I do have many facts about Star Wars because you asked for film facts.
I will take a couple.
Would you like some hilarious
I would like to hear
facts?
a couple of facts from you, Joe. I'm sure that we could fill up a whole podcast with just you talking about Star Wars. So hit us with a couple of facts, Joe.
Okay, I'll give you one of the best facts. This is perhaps my favourite fact. Is Peter Cushing, who plays Grand Moff Tarkin, the guy who's in charge of the Death Star. He found his leather boots so uncomfortable to walk in that he asked George Lucas if he could just be shot from the waist up for the rest of the film, so he could wear his carpet slippers, his fuzzy carpet slippers. So whenever you see Grand Moff Tarkin in the film, just imagine you pan down, he's wearing these fuzzy slippers.
Incredible. We've had a little factoid being sent through from our man behind the scenes, Mr. Don Palmer.
Gremlin.
I wouldn't call him a gremlin, but Joe, you do you. Apparently, Mr. Michael Milstead is in one of the Star Wars films.
Oh,
Yes, he was in Rogue One, I
Aha.
brilliant.
Or was it? No, it was Han Solo, I think. That's the Han
Okay, so
Solo.
Solo.
film. Solo, a Star Wars story.
One film that I just would like to very briefly, it was in one of my top films to talk about, was Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Now,
Yes.
and as I said, I seem to enjoy silly adventure films, and I think that is the pinnacle of silly adventure films. And I first watched that when I was a teenager with a couple of my really good friends, and occasionally we just quoted at each other. I like to start off these quoting fests when we're in public and they don't really want to join in because they're embarrassed by me, apparently. But I always like to do it, and they can't help but respond. So
Go on then.
we
Let's play.
we are no longer the knights who say nee. We are the knights who say yucky patang patang, etc., etc.
Brilliant. Love it.
Thank you. I watched that a lot as a teenager.
What is your name? What is your quest? What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
Is that a European or an African swallow? I don't know.
I don't know that.
So I think that let's end our silly adventure story here, and let's.
No, I don't want to stop.
We could talk about films forever, but I just want to say thank you both for joining me today and talking about your favourite films with me. It's been very enlightening. I wasn't surprised by your choice at all, Joe. So, but
No, I should have gone for Schindler's List or something like that.
I wouldn't have believed you.
No.
That is one of my favourite films.
I'm sure it is, but it's not Star Wars Episode 4.
Brilliant film.
No.
It's not quite.
It's not
quite up there.
Not coming in,
but it's amazing.
basically.
Exactly, you know?
You haven't seen Star
Any
Wars.
other film can get out.
Yeah.
No, it's been lovely. Thank you for having us.
So
Yes.
I just want to say thank you for coming, and thank you everyone at home for listening in. It's been lovely.
Yeah, and let us know in the comments below what your favourite film is.
Definitely, that would be amazing, and it's been really interesting getting to know everyone's favourite films. So that would be lovely. So let's just say a big hearty goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.